friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here to share my July reading wrap up with you. I did a couple of themed reading vlogs, so the books that I read for that, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I will make sure to link those videos in the description box for you if you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts on those books. The first book that I'm going to tell you I DNF'd this month is Read Me by Leo Benedictus. I tried to pick this up in the video where I was reading short thrillers that you could read in a day, and I just immediately was not connecting to the writing, and I had pushed myself through some other books that I wasn't like super enjoying during that reading vlog. So I went ahead and decided to DNF this one and go ahead and give it away. I did pick it up at the dollar store, so it's not like a huge loss or anything. So the first video I did is a Suzanne Park author taste test video where I read both of these YA novels. I read The Perfect Escape by Suzanne Park and I rated it 3 stars, and then I rated Sunny Song Will Never Be Famous 2 stars. I do go in depth about each of my thoughts on each of these books in that video, so like I said, I will have it linked for you in the description box. After that video, I realized that Suzanne Park not only writes YA, but she also writes adult fiction as well, and I'm definitely interested in reading some of her adult fiction stuff. So I may do another like author taste test for Suzanne Park when I get 2 of her adult fiction books and kind of compare, because I really did like her writing. It's just that these stories I've definitely outgrown, and this one was a little bit unbelievable with like the social media aspects, but did that video where I did read the short thrillers you could read in a day, and I read a bunch. So I read, let's see, I think 5, no, this one doesn't count. I don't know if I talked about this last month, but I did read this on release day, Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't want to talk about it too much because I know you've either already read it or you haven't read it yet, and I don't want to spoil anything. But the basic premise of this is you have a main character leaving college to return home. She can't make it through the semester because her roommate was murdered by the campus killer, and she just wants to go home and, you know, be away from college. She doesn't have a car, so she goes to the rideshare board and looks for a ride home. Like they can kind of team up and get a ride home together, and there's this guy there and they're going in the same direction, so they decide that, you know, that will be the opportunity that she's looking for. But along the way, the road trip home, she begins to suspect that he is the campus killer. And what I really liked about this one is I love books with road trips. I love books that have kind of like a questionable narrator and you don't really know if you can believe what they're telling you. And there's something about the main character in this one that kind of has you wondering, is this really happening? Is this all in her head type thing? And I really like how it wrapped up at the end because I was kind of noticing something as I was reading, and I didn't really pay I noticed it and I like commented on it, but I didn't really like pay it too much attention. And then at the end I was like, huh, interesting. So yeah, I really liked this one. I also did a Riley Sager tier ranking video. So if you want to watch my vlog for this or that tier ranking video, definitely check that out. All right, now let's talk about those short thrillers. So I have some here. I think that's the only ones. Oh, no, and this one as well. Okay, so these are the books that I ended up reading. I read Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒔. I rated this one 4 out of 5 stars. It's more of horror than it is a thriller, but it is definitely thrilling as well. This is about a woman that is selling an apple peeler that has been in her family for many generations, but she needs the money. And it's told completely through like letter format, like IMs and stuff like that. So let me see if I can find a page near the beginning I can show you. So there's posts on this like message form, and then there's also IMs and emails. So that's what that looks like. I really did enjoy that. I also read Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam, and I rated this one 3 out of 5 stars. I was told before I read it not to expect like super thrilling story, and I actually did really like the base story, but I don't like how it had an ambiguous ending. So I wasn't a super fan of that, but I did enjoy it. So 3 out of 5 stars for that one. I read The Test, which is wildly popular. It's super, super short. I rated it 3 stars. I thought it was super fast paced, obviously, even for it being like a short book. And I did like the basic premise, but once you kind of know what's going on, I don't know, it loses a little bit of steam, I think. And then I also read Moon of the Crusted Snow, and I rated this 2 out of 5 stars, just because it was very, very slow paced, and I didn't think it needed to be. It was very, very descriptive, like over descriptive, but I did like the cultural story elements, and I did look up a bunch of Own Voices reviews because this is written by an Indigenous author, and so I wanted to make sure I was checking out Indigenous reviews, and I know this is highly praised in the Indigenous community, so definitely check it out if you are interested. And the last book that I read was for that video was Looker by Laura Sims, and I didn't really know what this was about other than a woman being obsessed with an actress that lives in her neighborhood, but it was so much more than that, and it wasn't as thrilling as I thought it was going to be. It was more about this one woman's descent into madness. Basically, her life is in shambles, and it's just, there's all these different little plot points that lead up to like her state of mind and stuff like that. So very, very interesting. Rated this one 4 stars. And I did a Jennifer Weirner author taste test. I read Miss Everything and Big Summer. I rated Miss Everything 4 stars and Big Summer 3 stars. This one is obviously a little bit chunkier, and it took me a little bit longer to read this one, but I really, really enjoyed seeing these sisters from the 1950s to like pretty much their whole life, up until like, I think it was like 2022 was the last bit, and it just seeing the different decades. The sisters felt so different from one another. The decades felt so different from one another, and it really just showed me the strength of Jennifer Weirner's writing. And then I picked up Big Summer. Oh, sorry, I rated Big Summer 3.5 stars because I really didn't know what to expect. I was definitely expecting like a summary, wedding type story, but I didn't know that it follows this like plus size fashion blogger, and she gets an opportunity to represent this clothing line, and then she does go to a ex-best friend's wedding, and she's wearing all of these things at the wedding and stuff like that, and then things happen during the wedding, and the story kind of takes a shift towards the end. So I did really, really enjoy this. I just wasn't, I don't know. Check out that reading vlog if you want more thoughts. And the only 2 books that I have finished since those reading vlogs are these 2. So I read It's Been a Pleasure, Noni Blake, and I rated this story 3 out of 5 stars. I do have a reading vlog of this one possibly coming, and I really explained my thoughts better there. But this one follows a plus size bisexual main character named Noni Blake, who has been with both men and women, which I think is great representation. And she's on this quest to, so after a recent breakup, her and her partner sell their apartment. They have a little bit of money, and she decides that she's going to go on this pleasure quest, to kind of like a self-discovery journey type thing. And she goes overseas, like she goes to London, and she goes to like a couple of other places as well. I believe like Scotland and things like that. And she's just trying to do things that bring her joy. She's going to sleep with whoever she wants, man or woman. She's going to, you know, cut her hair. She's going to wear the clothes that make her feel fabulous, and all of those things. So I thought I loved the representation of the character, but as far as like the self-discovery journey, it didn't seem anything like outside of the norm. So that's why I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. And hopefully I will post that vlog soon for you guys so you can hear more of my in-depth thoughts about that. And then the last book that I read is If You Tell by Greg Olson. I rated this story 3 out of 5 stars as well. Now, I know a lot of you guys were probably expecting me to rate this higher. This is my first true crime in quite a while, like probably more than 20 years. And I do miss the genre. However, the horrifying things that happen in this book, terrible. To know that this is true and that this actually happened, it's nonfiction, is horrifying, and I can't imagine that stuff happening, like, and I don't know, it's absolutely crazy to read about. However, the writing itself became very repetitive. So you meet the mother, you meet the family, and then it's just like humiliation and torture, scene after scene after scene after scene after scene. And not only does this mother torture her daughters and her nephew, but also 2 adults. So her hairdresser comes to live with her, and that ends up happening. And then there's this other like gay man, I believe his name was like Don. He also comes to live with them, and she also does the same thing to him. She like drugs these people. She doesn't let them use the bathroom. She doesn't let them shower. She locks them in rooms. I don't know, it's so crazy because it was so heavily focused on the things that she did. That trauma and that abuse and that torture and that humiliation was never broken up. It was just like, look at all of these horrible things she did, which it was very eye-opening reading all of the things that she did. But because it was oversaturation of those things and it never broke up that narrative, it did become repetitive, and it did kind of become, I don't know, like where it just didn't hit you in the gut as much as it should. You know what I'm saying? I obviously think that this woman suffers from some type of mental illness, some sort of psychotic break or something. And at the very end, it does talk about, there's this PhD, Catherine Ramsland. She does this little afterword and stuff, and it's talking about from the inside, a violent home looks starkly different than it does to outsiders. And it talks about like the trauma and stuff like that. I wanted more of like that stuff mixed into the book, and I think it would have broken down a little bit better. There was just something that didn't hit me as hard as it could have, and I think it's just because of the way it was written. But yeah, tragic stuff, very hard to read at times. And if you're wanting to get into true crime and you really want to be hit with some crazy stuff, definitely check it out. I know this is some people's like one of their favorites, and Greg Olsen does have other nonfictions and fiction. He has an entire backlist of things that I might be checking out. So yeah, that was that one. And that's all I have read for the month of July. It wasn't that much, but it felt like just enough. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know how your month went in July for reading. What was the best book you read? What was the worst book you read? And I'll see you guys again in another video very soon. Bye!